Before you speak, before you smile, before you tell someone who you are, something has already happened. In just a few seconds, the person standing in front of you has already formed an impression, not because of your clothes, not because of your voice, not even because of your face, but because of something much quieter, your eyes. We often think conversations begin with words, but they don't. Every conversation begins with a glance that lasts less than a second, yet somehow it can create trust, attraction, curiosity, or discomfort. Long before human beings invented language, we learned to survive by watching each other's eyes. A frightened look meant danger, a calm gaze meant safety, a loving look meant home. Thousands of years have passed, but our brains still respond the same way, which raises a fascinating question. If our eyes have always spoken, then what exactly are they saying? Tonight, we're going to explore one of the oldest forms of communication humanity has ever known, the silent language of eye contact. Hi and welcome back. If you're new here, welcome to Whispery Mind, the space where your thoughts finally learn to speak. Take a breath, clear your head, and let's get into it. Imagine walking into a room filled with complete strangers. Nobody introduces themselves. Nobody says hello. Nobody smiles. And yet, within only a few seconds, your brain has already made dozens of judgments. Who seems kind? Who feels intimidating? Who looks confident? Who appears anxious? Who feels trustworthy? And perhaps who you should avoid? What's remarkable is that you didn't consciously choose to make these judgments. They happened automatically, almost instantly, because the human brain is constantly searching for one thing: safety, for thousands of years. Our ancestors lived in environments where hesitation could mean death. A single glance could reveal whether someone was a friend or a threat, whether danger was approaching, or whether it had already arrived. This ability became deeply wired into our nervous system. And even though modern life looks completely different, our brains never abandoned this ancient survival mechanism. Today, you don't walk into a forest looking for predators. You walk into meetings, classrooms, coffee shops, elevators, but your brain still asks the exact same question: am I safe here? And strangely enough, it often searches for the answer inside someone else's eyes. Think about the last time someone looked at you with genuine warmth, not because they had to, not because they were trying to impress you, but because they were fully present. Chances are you still remember that feeling. Maybe not the words they said, maybe not what they were wearing, but you remember how they looked at you, because presence leaves a stronger memory than perfection. This is why eye contact feels so different from simply looking. Looking is physical. Eye contact is emotional. It isn't just about seeing someone. It's about acknowledging that they exist. For one brief moment, two nervous systems meet without saying anything. And sometimes that silent moment says more than an entire conversation ever could. Now think about the opposite. Have you ever tried speaking to someone who never looked at you? Their eyes kept drifting toward their phone, the floor, the window, anywhere except you. Even if they nodded, even if they answered your questions, something felt missing. You didn't feel heard, because attention cannot be faked, and the eyes are usually the first place where attention disappears. There's an old saying that the eyes are the windows to the soul. Whether that's literally true, no one can say, but psychologists do agree on something fascinating. Human beings are remarkably sensitive to where another person's attention is directed. We notice it instinctively. Even babies, only a few months old, naturally follow another person's gaze. Before they understand language, they already understand eyes. Think about that for a moment. Before we learned words, we learned attention. Before we learned sentences, we learned connection. Maybe that's why being ignored hurts so much, because deep inside, our brains still associate someone's attention with our sense of belonging. Let's imagine something simple. You're sitting in a quiet cafe. Someone across the room looks at you. You look back. For a brief second, neither of you looks away. Nothing happens. No words, no smiles, no movement, and yet your heartbeat changes. Why? Because eye contact is one of the few forms of communication that requires mutual vulnerability. The moment two people meet each other's eyes, both silently agree to be seen. And being seen is far more uncomfortable than most people realize. We spend so much of our lives managing how others perceive us. We carefully choose our words. We rehearse conversations. We hide our insecurities. We smile when we're exhausted. We laugh when we're uncomfortable. We pretend we're okay, even when we're not. But eye contact has a strange way of slipping past those defenses. You can prepare your words, but you cannot fully rehearse presence. That's why genuine eye contact often feels surprisingly intimate. Not necessarily romantic, just human. It reminds us that behind every face, there is another mind, another story, another person carrying invisible fears, invisible hopes, and invisible battles. Sometimes, one honest look is enough to remind us that we're not as alone as we thought. The Swiss psychologist Carl Jung once suggested that much of who we are lives beneath conscious awareness. He called it the unconscious, a place filled with forgotten memories, hidden fears, unfinished pain, and parts of ourselves we've never fully accepted. Most of the time, we believe we're in control of how we present ourselves. We choose our words carefully. We practice confidence. We rehearse conversations in our heads. We build an image of who we want the world to see. But the unconscious doesn't always cooperate. It has a quiet way of revealing itself, sometimes through dreams, sometimes through habits, sometimes through silence, and sometimes through our eyes. Think about the difference between a forced smile and a genuine one. Most people can tell the difference, not because of the mouth, but because of the eyes. A real smile doesn't stop at the lips. It reaches the eyes. The muscles around them soften. The face relaxes. The entire expression changes. Because authenticity is difficult to imitate. In the same way, confidence cannot simply be acted. Someone can memorize confident words. Someone can imitate confident posture, but their eyes often tell a different story. Not because they're weak, but because the eyes respond to what we truly feel, not only to what we want others to believe. Jung also believed that every person carries a shadow, not an evil side, but the parts of ourselves we've rejected, the fears we deny, the emotions we suppress, the insecurities we refuse to admit. And here's something fascinating. Sometimes, the strongest emotional reactions we have toward another person have very little to do with them. We meet someone, and instantly feel drawn toward them or strangely uncomfortable around them without understanding why. Jung suggested that people often act as mirrors, reflecting parts of ourselves we've never taken the time to understand. Maybe that's why some eye contact feels impossible to hold, not because we're afraid of the other person, but because for a brief moment, we catch a glimpse of ourselves. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to face. There is another reason why genuine eye contact feels so rare today. Modern life has taught us to look at screens more than faces. We scroll, we text, we reply, we consume hour after hour, day after day. We are constantly connected, yet somehow we are making less eye contact than ever before. And perhaps that's one reason why so many people feel lonely, even in crowded places, because connection has never depended on proximity. It depends on presence, and presence begins with attention. Movies have taught us something that isn't always true. If someone looks away, they're lying. Reality is much more complicated. Some people avoid eye contact when they're honest simply because they're anxious. Others maintain perfect eye contact while telling a complete lie. There isn't a single look that proves deception. Instead of asking, "Are they looking at me?" maybe a better question is, do their words, their tone, and their actions all tell the same story? Because trust is never built on one glance. It's built on consistency. So before you wonder what someone else's eyes are saying, ask yourself a different question. What do yours say? When someone is speaking, are you truly listening? Or are you simply waiting for your turn to talk? When someone shares their pain, do you stay present? Or do your eyes quietly search for an escape? Maybe eye contact has never been about confidence. Maybe it's about courage. The courage to be present, the courage to see another person, and perhaps to let yourself be seen. So the next time someone looks into your eyes, don't rush to fill the silence. Stay there just for a moment, because in that quiet space, no one is trying to impress anyone. No one is pretending. For just a few seconds, two human beings simply exist in the same moment. Maybe that's why eye contact feels so powerful. Not because it reveals who the other person is, but because it gently reminds us who we are. And in a world where everyone is desperate to be noticed, perhaps the greatest gift you can give someone isn't your advice or your words. It's your full attention, because eyes don't speak louder than words. They simply speak first.